So now that you have the core awakened, we're now going to focus in on strengthening. So you still want to think about keeping the pelvic floor, the belly, the shoulder blades sliding down with all these movements. Now the first movement is a back extension with a diagonal pattern. So you can knuckle down and take a seat. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it. I'm actually going to let go of one handle. I'm going to take my hand, my left hand, and hold the right handle. And what I'm going to do is let my body fall forward. So I'm going to move as far back as I need to on the glide board to allow myself to get a little bit of a stretch. My feet are on the floor to self spot. I lift my upper back, my head and my upper back. Note that I'm not looking up. My neck stays in one line. And then I slide my shoulder blades down. I'm lifting from my back, and then I'm moving into a back extension. I'm not just falling back there. That's going to place too much stress on the back. So just start by lifting and feeling the spine extend from the head, upper, lower, back. That's the pattern you want to go. Now the next thing is the arm. So then as you come up, you start to pull the arm back. That's what we call a long lever, meaning that's harder. So you might want to come up and just do a high elbow row, getting that movement of the spine in the upper back. Then you're going to start to move to the arm coming up as you pull back. Now to make the exercise harder, you're going to see me start to transition. My arm pulls back first, and then I extend back. So to review, upper back, first get that firing, getting that spinal sequence. Then start to add the arm coming into that spinal sequence, maybe starting with the bent elbow. And then get the arm coming straight. And then lastly, arm moves first, then the back. Any way you want to progress that. Lastly, you can come off to rather stand up, go into a kneeling position. The other hand can either sit on the glide board or be on your small of your back as you lift up and pull back. So that's progressing the exercise even more. So that's upper back extension, or rather lumbar extension. We're then going to move into sitting and or kneeling. I'm going to stay sitting. You're going to pull one arm back, and as you pull one arm back, the other arm pulls up and back. Now, the arm pulling back can have palms facing back, or you can do palm facing forward. It's up to you. Alternating or sticking to one side. Again, you feel where you're at. You can alternate each way, or you can stick to one side. When you're doing this exercise, things to watch for. As you pull back, a lot of people like to arch back to get the movement. It looks like I'm actually pulling with my arms, but I'm just moving my low back. You want to keep your shoulders, elbows, rather your shoulders, elbows, and wrists in a nice alignment, meaning nice and straight. And you want to keep your spine nice and straight. Now moving from here, right into a wide fly. This is where a lot of people's ribs like to pop to get that extra movement in the back. I see that quite often. You want to keep your rib cage stacked over your pelvis and almost feel like, I tell people to feel like you're posting up on a horse. If you need to lean a little bit forward more at the hip, like you're hinging forward at the hip to go directly toward the tower, as you pull forward to help prevent either the lean back or the too much hyperextension of the back. So from here, you move into just a little bit of leg exercises. So I'm going to come off, disengage my pulling. Bringing my incline up from the top third. And then I move into working my glutes, a major stabilizer of posture, and especially that low back. So I'm going to take my body rolling back, and then I move onto my side. Make sure your one hand's distance away from the edge. And then you're going to go into a side squat. Now, bottom leg can be bent or straight. This is what I quite often see. I quite often see people curling down into a ball, and we forget that what our upper body does can still affect our lower body. So before you even begin, get your spine in one straight line. Think about your head and shoulders over the hip, everything aligning. I tell people to take the back of their hand, put it against, rather the palm of their hand, put it against the back of their head, and almost push into your hand to give yourself a little bit of a chin tuck and a little bit of not a chin tuck, but more like a cervical retraction, meaning that you're lengthening the back of the neck as you go down, and then you give yourself a little bit of stretch in the neck. So think about the whole entire chain of the body as you perform the side squat. Moving from here, turn onto your back, you'll do both sides, and then you go into a bridge squat. So hips up, you can keep your hips lifted the entire time. Think about pushing your knees over the toes. You're not actually gonna go there, but that helps to keep pressure off the neck. You can think about opening up through your chest as you do this. If you need to, you can go into a turnout position if you feel like you need a little bit more mobility at the hips. And lastly, I said the other variation was either a bridge or just hovering your hips over the glide board. So hips high or low, and that's gonna just feel a little bit differently. Maybe activate the hamstrings a little bit more for you. Then you're gonna press back, lower the hips, and that's your strengthening segment.